In fashion, we often fall in and out of love with clothes too quickly. This means there are huge volumes of garments being produced and discarded throughout the global fashion industry. This generates a lot of waste. Strategy 1 asks us to consider how we can reduce waste at the outset during the design and production stages. As designers, we suggest 3 ways to look at minimizing waste, whilst maintaining aesthetics as central to the process. Dematerialize. Let's consider whether we need to use all the materials we would normally use. By rethinking the product at the outset, we may find that we can make significant savings just by asking the right questions. Can we do more with less? Do we need this product at all? Or could one product replace the need for 2 or more? Zero waste. This strategy encourages designers to minimize production waste. The factory lay plan can leave up to 15% of the fabric on the floor. If the designer can design the garment pieces to fit perfectly inside the selvage seams of the fabric, the result is zero fabric waste and can introduce a new aesthetic to garment shapes. This concept also extends beyond cutting to include zero-waste knit, print, and weave approaches. In designing for durability, we aim to make good quality fashion so that it will survive many uses. Quality costs money, though, so we need to consider how, as designers, our products can be valued and appreciated more by the consumer. It's up to us to show them how. Designers don't just work with materials, they also work with people. One of the most resourceful uses of materials is to design in the potential for a long relationship between the product and the owner. Fashion means change, and right now, change means rapid product obsolescence. But it doesn't have to. There is a huge amount of waste in the textile industry. Up to 65% of all the textiles and clothes that we throw away go straight into landfill. By placing unwanted products in the bin, we are wasting the massive amounts of energy and resources that went into producing them. So what can designers do to prevent this obsolescence? The goal is to avoid throwing them into landfill and instead aim to reuse these resources. At TED, we have been working to develop more creative approaches to cyclability by rethinking the design brief. How can we find new ways to recycle and work with existing waste streams? What if we could be truly innovative and design for recycling at the outset, enabling every product or material to become part of a closed-loop system? At TED, we believe in a proactive future where we, as designers, can change the way we make and dispose of products and materials, and so have created our own set of recycling strategies. These include ideas for upcycling, design for disassembly, and design for monomateriality. Upcycling postpones the arrival of the discarded material at landfill by adding further lives to the value of the product through design. Design for disassembly allows for each element of a product to be separated and recycled differently. When we design for monomateriality, we create products with just one material that can be placed in a single closed-loop system. As designers, we need this range of approaches to tackle the waste we are currently faced with. We are finding new ways to add value to discarded materials and are also designing new products for the closed-loop systems of the future. The textile industry is dirty. All the production processes in the industry involve the use of harsh chemicals, from the growing of raw materials to the finishing and dyeing of fabrics. The textile industry continues to be one of the most polluting industries, second only to the chemical industry. As designers, we need to understand the whole life cycle of the textiles and garments we work with, so we can make informed decisions about the chemical impacts of the materials and processes in the whole supply chain. The more informed and knowledgeable we are, the more influence we can have. At the raw material stage, we can choose low-impact materials such as organic cotton that does not use any harsh pesticides in the growing of the cotton plant. The finishing stage of textile production, when textiles are dyed, treated and washed, is where most chemical impacts occur. Here, designers can consider employing current innovations in ozone technology that replace the use of bleach, utilize laser technology to replace dyes or adhesives, and consider natural or low-impact dyes. At a brand level, some leading fashion companies now see the business case for lower toxicity and are working with textile mills and production facilities to reduce impacts across their whole supply chains. Global warming and water shortages are two of the biggest challenges we face in the coming century. The textile industry contributes to these impacts as it takes huge amounts of energy and water to convert a raw material into a fibre and then into a fabric. For design that reduces energy use, we need to consider all stages of a garment's life to make appropriate material choices. Different materials will have varying energy impacts depending on the raw materials they are made from. Polyester is manufactured from non-renewable petroleum and requires huge energy input to produce the fibre. Cotton, on the other hand, has low energy impacts at the fiber production stage, but is energy intensive during the use phase. Besides these material considerations, in the use phase, we can try to develop behavior change to encourage low-impact washing habits. We could even design garments to be used just once and then recycled. When it comes to water impacts at the raw material stage, cotton is one of the most intensive crops, using up to 29,000 litres of water per kilogram of cotton. We can choose alternative fibres such as bamboo or hemp that are less thirsty crops. The finishing stage of textile production, when textiles are dyed, treated, printed and washed, also has high water impacts. Here designers can perhaps consider employing innovations in ozone technology for denim finishing that reduce water use by up to 90%, or use waterless dye techniques that print colour on polyester using heat, or use CO2 instead of water, and even use nanotechnology textile treatments that control odours, reducing the need for frequent laundering. There are technical innovations appearing in the textile industry every day to make production more efficient and to lower costs. But some of these new technologies are aimed at creating a more sustainable industry. Designers need to understand what these technologies can do and what role they play in creating cleaner systems and products. In yarn production, regenerated cellulose is bringing textile manufacturing into the 21st century, using wood pulp to create high-quality fibre in a closed-loop system. We may even be able to grow fibres from bacteria in the not-too-distant future. And additive technologies like 3D printing are being trialled to print new textile fibres from a powder, which could reduce waste. In the textile manufacturing stages, industry is using finishing technologies to reduce environmental impacts, with digital print, laser and nanotechnologies reducing the need for pigments, threads and coatings or adhesives. New online technologies such as augmented reality and social media tools are changing the way products are purchased and manufactured, making a more direct link between consumers and industry. At the end-of-life stage, once consumers have thrown away their old clothes, there are several new recycling innovations to help us make more efficient use of the waste textiles. Infrared scanning can now detect different textile types, making the sorting process easier. The biggest barrier to more efficient recycling is that most of the textiles found in recycling bins are mixed fibres. While there is a new technology that can chemically break down good quality fibres into its different constituent parts, most of the textiles in recycling bins cannot be recycled in this way. But the technology is being tested and is not far off. So, watch this space. This strategy is about how designers can find inspiration from the past and from nature. At TED, we believe that what we have already achieved, and what nature provides, may offer solutions. Designers have always looked to the past for inspiration, but just think what might happen if we did a careful investigation of textile practices and habits from history, to gain some new techniques and methods for sustainable design. By studying historic garments, we can learn methods for extending the life of a garment through alteration and adaptation. Studying traditional textile craft techniques like quilting can reveal innovative methods for material efficiency and reuse. We can also consider using local materials that are part of our own culture and environmental heritage, such as flax or hemp from Europe, or bark cloth from Asia. Nature also offers us models for inspiration. Whereas the industrial model of production and disposal has been based on what we can extract from the natural world, a more sustainable approach asks us to consider what we can learn from nature, and how we can cultivate it to naturally provide solutions for us. The hook and eye technology of Velcro was invented by studying how burrs from plants get attached to animal fur, and spider silk has inspired the development of Kevlar, the world's strongest fibre. An emerging area of research is synthetic biology, where plants are genetically controlled to produce specific functions for us. Some designers and scientists are beginning to investigate if nature could be genetically altered to manufacture textiles for us in the future. This strategy encourages us to be aware of both nature's intelligence and the human intelligence from past cultures and traditions, then apply this knowledge to develop a more sustainable system. The textile and fashion industry provides jobs and livelihoods to over 40 million people worldwide, but a large majority of these workers are being paid very low wages and working in unethical or dangerous conditions. There are social impacts at each stage of the life cycle. the cotton farmers in India or Africa who try to get a fair price for their cotton on the international commodity market, the worker at the textile mill who is distressing denim with bleach or sandblasting, to the garment factory workers who are working 16-hour days at a sewing machine. How can designers encourage ethical production that supports and values people and skills? Design and production processes are deeply interconnected, and the decisions made by designers will inevitably have social impacts. So, if you are a designer in a large company, you can ensure that your organization sources fabrics or materials that are fair trade or certified organic. You can also encourage your organization to engage with suppliers or factories that abide by strict codes of conduct and treat their workers fairly. If you are an independent designer, partnership, or a small company, and you want to create your own transparent supply chain, you can set up production in your local area so you have control over how workers are treated. Or if you want to support local craft skills in countries such as India or Africa, you can set up a sustainable enterprise that creates products and employment for these communities. Designers have the power and imagination to bring making and social benefits to a community or neighborhood. Design for ethical production encourages designers to see themselves as the intermediary between the makers of the clothes and textiles and the people who wear them. We have become addicted to shopping and the quick fix of fast fashion. Consumers are spending more than ever on clothing, and the price of clothing has been going down over the last 10 years. The environmental and social impacts of this system are huge, and there is increasing evidence that a disposable income to spend on clothes does not make us happier. This strategy is about making garments that last, that people want to keep and look after. It is also about new ideas of well-being and satisfaction that do not rely on buying more and more. How could designers use their design skills to reduce consumption? We can design ways for the owner to develop a deep attachment to the piece, either by designing in customization options or designing garments that adapt and change with age. The deeper the attachment to the garments, through the owner repairing and caring for them, the less the consumer will feel the need to keep buying more and more clothes. As shopping is often a social event, how can designers replace this activity with other social experiences that don't involve buying new things? We can facilitate and encourage upskilling and DIY activities by running workshops, organizing events, or developing online platforms. We can also explore co-design methods, working with consumers to design their own products. They could be offered color and materials choices, or a platform for their own designs to be manufactured and produced. Finally, designers can use crowdsourcing to offer consumers a financial share in their business, or on a product-by-product basis. Fashion is fun and brings us pleasure, but it doesn't need to be so wasteful and ephemeral. There are many proactive and creative ways that designers and consumers can engage with fashion for a more sustainable industry. This strategy encourages designers to be systems thinkers, to see the larger system that operates around a garment or brand, and to understand that a consumer's needs do not just have to be met by a product. Designers can begin to think about designing services to replace product ownership, such as rental or hire services, or they might design services to support existing garments or accessories. Systems and service design uses participatory and user-central methods to understand the consumer's needs. Designers are using these methods to understand what people need from services and how these needs could be met. We can still have fashion, we don't have to own it. For example, leasing a product for a specific time and then returning it back to the company, such as a car sharing scheme, means less car ownership and less use of materials and resources in production. In a fashion context, this includes companies who offer the latest fashion handbag for lease or an outfit for a special occasion. Collaborative consumption is a growing trend that sees people sharing and trading skills, time, or consumer goods. These activities are being enabled by new digital platforms and the design of services that support the sharing economy. An example is an app that allows people to photograph and upload unworn clothes in their wardrobes for resale. Systems to support existing products might offer repair and mending, updating and customization resources to help consumers keep products in use for longer. Designers might offer help with styling and fitting and other services that improve the selection process and the efficiency of use for the consumer. So let's imagine that we have enough stuff already in circulation. The challenge for the designer is to make what we have go further, last longer, and be more useful and satisfying. Get to work. We know that designers have skills other than making stuff. They might also have passionate voices, empathy for people, and unusual and interesting ways of working and communicating. In this strategy, we look at how designers can be activists, leave the product in the studio, and get out onto the streets and into homes to help create positive environmental and social change. Designers and artists have always raised their voices about social and political issues, from William Morris and his commitment to local craft skills, to the Bauhaus and their commitment to design for all. Whether you are passionate about reducing the environmental impacts of design and production, or you want to advocate for consumer or workers' rights, there are many ways that designers can be activists. To use design as a force for positive change. Firstly, you could write your own manifesto. Tell the world what you believe in and why. Put it out there in a creative and innovative way, and attract like-minded collaborators to join forces with you. You could also create your own campaign that raises awareness about a cause, such as the deaths of Indian cotton farmers from pesticide use. Or organize an event, such as a DIY workshop, to encourage more sustainable fashion consumption. Not all design activism has to be design-led. If you work in a design team, it could be as simple as introducing a recycling scheme, or finding a local community to volunteer with. Design is a powerful medium in today's globalized world, and designers have the potential to be change agents, to create a more sustainable future for us all.